everybody. This is Teresa with the Intentional Classroom, and today I'm in beautiful sunny Florida, and I could not really not take advantage of this weather. So I'm outside crossing my fingers, hoping a dog doesn't bark, hoping a bird doesn't go crazy behind me. But I wanted to record a couple of videos while I was here because it's been a little bit. And so this first video I'm doing today is really for instructors and kind of addressing how we interact with students and our behavior with students. And so I have been doing this with schools for years, and I've always kind of joked and called it, no way, Jose, because no way, Jose, should we be doing these things. So this is really about navigating professionalism as a teacher, because I think nobody teaches us that, right? We go from the stylist role where we can be a little more casual with our clients to being a mentor and a role model. So I created my No Way Jose, honestly, for my own faculty as a way to kind of set some expectations, but I found it becomes pretty useful for all faculty groups. And so here we go. We're going to go through my No Way Jose today. So I start with this. Teaching requires you to be way more professional than ever as a stylist, and it really makes you showcase you have an understanding of boundaries, because educating and managing students requires some boundaries, right? I can't stress that enough. So let's talk about it, right? The intentional educator is really going to consider the following items when they think about their behavior and how they interact with students. All right, first, they begin and end class on time. Seems like a given, but I hear it all the time. And teachers will say, oh, the students don't mind if I start a little late. You're right. They're going to be like, yeah, it's fine. But the good students do mind, because the good students showed up on time and did what they were supposed to. So it's super disrespectful when you start class, if class starts at 8:30, if you start at 8:45, 9 o'clock, it's super disrespectful to the students that did do what they were supposed to. So you really need to begin and end your class on time so that you're respecting everyone's time and money, all right? The intentional teacher does not accept food or drink from students unless it's part of like a campus lunch or a class like potluck, something like that, because here's why. Even though they might not be your favorite, if that student that brings you Starbucks every single day, even if you've paid for it, they're bringing you something like that every day, every other student in that classroom thinks they're the favorite, even if they're not. Okay, so it's about perception here, and that if the student is bringing, like I had a hair school teacher, I'll never forget this. Every day she was like, Teresa, if you go get lunch, I'll buy you lunch. Well, what did that look like to every other student? And at the time, I was not a teacher. I was like, yeah, free lunch. I'm a broke student, but the reality is that does not look good to other students. And that matters. That perception matters. So you should not be accepting food and drink from students unless it's part of a group thing where everybody is eating food and drink. Okay. The next one. The intentional teacher does not accept random gifts from students unless it's associated with a holiday or graduation, something like that. Different situation when they bring you a little something for Christmas, or at graduation, they give you a little gift. That's a different situation than a student picking up designer sunglasses from you because they're super cute and they thought of you. That's not appropriate. And I've seen it over and over and over again. And teachers, I've had people on like, I don't understand. They really like me, so they gave me this gift. Why can't I take it? Same thing. That's a perception. Whether they say it or not, they now have an expectation that they get some kind of special treatment. So you really have to think about that. The intentional teacher always plans ahead, ensuring every moment of class time is spent on relevant information. I can't stress this enough. Really easy to digress into different things, but the reality is every minute of that class should be spent on things that are relevant to their career. Okay, so I had an amazing teacher once, and she would do these cool activities, but when it came down to it, those activities didn't actually enhance the lesson. It wasn't really about the lesson. So you really have to be mindful in the things that you put together for class to make sure that they're relevant. You also need to be mindful that if you're managing a class and it diverges into this conversation that has nothing to do with the topic, that you bring them back to the point. Because if we don't do that, we're not giving them what they're paying for, okay? The intentional teacher refuses to gossip and does not allow for those around them to. What does that mean? You might have a school gossip. Every school does. You have a building full of women. It happens, but don't give them the audience. The minute they start to talk to you about something that isn't about you or doesn't affect you or has nothing to do with you, stop the conversation and walk away. Let them know you know what, I can't be a part of this conversation. It's not relevant to what we're doing. Do not give them the audience and don't be that person. I'm going to do another video this month that I've done with faculty before called Gossip or Nah, because I think a lot of people don't recognize what they're doing is gossip. So we'll go further into that in another video. So if you subscribe, you'll see when that video comes out. But the reality is you really need to be cautious that you're only talking about the things that are necessary to be talked about. Don't be the gossip. Don't do it. Okay. The intentional teacher does not befriend students on social media platforms. I cannot stress this enough. They think because you're friends on Facebook, you're friends in real life, and you have to be super careful. Remember, once they see something on your personal pages, they can't unsee it. So you have to be super careful. You also have to be careful because if they're chatting with you through Messenger or something like that, and something goes awry, it's this private account that the school is not accountable for. You have no protection from anything if you do that, and neither does the school. So put the boundary. That was an actual fireable offense for me when I was working in schools and running schools, because it was just opening up opportunity for lawsuits and for problems. So just don't do it. Have them be friends with the school page, communicate through that, but not your personal pages, okay? The intentional teacher does not enter into intimate relationships with students. I know this seems obvious, but I had to fire 4 teachers in a year for sleeping with students, and it blew my freaking mind because, I mean, seriously, I mean, how do we not know that that's not okay? You know, if that's your game, get out of education, please, because you're ruining it for everybody else. All right. The intentional teacher does not talk to students about other students. You know, if a student comes up to you and says, you know, I heard Miss So, or, you know, that so-and-so did this and or this, unless they're looking for a solution from you and they want to actually handle something, now it's just gossip. So, you know, if you have a student that says, well, how did so-and-so do on the test? You cannot share that. I know some of you are like, yeah, I would never do it, but we kind of find ourselves in these situations in conversation where it can easily lead into sharing more information that you should. So just be cautious. You shouldn't be talking about other students or other educators with students. Again, if a student comes to you with an actual concern and they want to address the concern and resolve it, excellent. Then have the conversation, but it should start with, if you want to handle this, let's go ahead and set up a meeting. I'll go with you and we can meet with that teacher. Don't just let them complain to you about a teacher without offering a solution, and be really cautious on agreeing with them, because that's one side of the story. So even if it's a teacher you don't necessarily like, if a student is sitting there and going on and you say, yeah, I know they're difficult, you know, sometimes they're hard, all you're doing is discrediting that teacher and you're actually destroying your own credibility. So be super, super careful, okay? The intentional teacher does not air their frustrations with coworkers or the school with students. Guys, it's work. There's always going to be something that's not what you like. There's always going to be a policy that you're not happy with, a decision that doesn't make you happy. The students should never hear about it. I hear this constantly in schools, that teachers talk to the students about the rules, or they say things like, well, you know, they make me enforce these, the office people made these. Come on, you are all one team. So, you know, regardless of what's happening, regardless of how unhappy you might be in your institution, the students should never know. They should never feel that, because all you're doing is stealing that from them, stealing that joy from them. So they don't deserve that. Don't do that to them, okay? The intentional teacher continually seeks out professional development. And that's what I'm here for, right? This is why I started my company, is I felt like we needed more resources to be better at what we do. You know, the brands that provide education are stellar. They're outstanding. But once you've gotten through those, then what, right? So always be looking, and it doesn't always have to cost money. You know, I do free webinars through Intentional Classroom. I do free webinars for BeautyCast Network. I have uploaded videos. I have free stuff on my website, theintentionalclassroom.com. There's plenty of options there. So I'm not saying you have to spend money, but there are opportunities to learn if you want to be better, okay? The intentional teacher continually researches new teaching methodology to bring into the classroom. Google is your best friend, okay? Watching my videos is your best friend, right? Miladies is your best friend. Pivot Point, we all offer these opportunities and these ideas to bring your class to life, but you got to put the work in. You got to do the research. So always be looking for new ways to teach something, because honestly, like I've taught hair color for 20 years now, right? 15 years maybe in the classroom. After a while, you start to sound like a robot. So you have to reinvent your own methods in the way you teach things. Okay. So that's my list of no way, Jose. These are the things that I think teachers need to think about as they're, entering into that classroom. But now it's on you. Now it's time to reflect and really think, how many of these things have you been guilty of? Because the answer is probably at least one. Lord knows I was. So much of this I learned because it bit me in the butt, right? So learn from my mistakes and pay attention to these things because they make you better. All right. It is absolutely time to reflect. If you are ready for more, as always, please subscribe, please share, please comment. If you haven't checked out Cosmetology Exam Reviews playlist yet, that's great for using with your students because I do theory review videos. Today, I'm working on one for nail structure and the physiology of the nails, stuff nobody really wants to learn. But comment, share, subscribe, comment on this stuff. And if you disagree with me, tell me. I am always open to hearing other points of view. So, subscribe and be involved, guys, be engaged, and we'll just all grow if we do that. So thank you so much for watching. Having a beautiful day here in Florida. I hope you're having a beautiful day where you are, and I can't wait to see you all soon. Have an awesome, awesome day.